The expedition begins an extended story inspired by your subtle. The desert greeted them with its ancient stillness, as if time itself slowed upon crossing the final stretch of broken asphalt. The convoy of 3 modified research trucks rumbled into the dunes where the modern world dissolved into a pale, shimmering eternity. Dr. Eileen Ray stepped out first. Sand hissed around her boots, the grains sliding like powdered glass. She breathed in the heat, something between reverence and caution, etched into her expression. For years she had chased myths that scholars dismissed as ornamental legend stories of skyborne visitors who taught forgotten sciences before vanishing into blinding light. Most researchers saw them as metaphor. Eileen suspected otherwise. Her academic career had been under that weight. Yet now she stood at the threshold of the discovery she believed waited beneath the Sahara's shifting bones. The rest of the expedition followed. Dr. Karim Bashir, the linguist, stretched his back and pressed his glasses higher on the bridge of his nose. He carried the delicate weight of languages older than recorded history, scripts that had no known relatives, symbols that turned up in cave paintings an ocean apart. In his pockets were notebooks filled with sketches of spirals, dots, and radiant figures, signs believed to be decorative until he noticed mathematical sequences hidden inside them. Dr. Sienna Locke, the lead geologist, walked out last. Her sun-browned face showed the wary confidence of someone who had spent half her life sleeping on rock beds and reading the earth's scars like prose. The desert, vast, quiet, deceptive, was her kind of archive. Behind them came technicians, drone operators, a solar engineer, an archaeobotanist, and 3 graduate students who tried to hide equal parts awe and terror beneath their bravado. They were united by one thing, a fragment, a single, impossible fragment. It had been found in 1974 by an Algerian shepherd who unearthed it after a sandstorm. Scholars ignored it. Museums declined it. Eventually it fell into the hands of an eccentric collector whose estate later donated it to Alina's university. The fragment was a shard of black glass, smooth, unnaturally symmetrical, and etched with glyphs that glowed faintly only when exposed to sunlight. Carbon dating failed. Spectral analysis failed. It shouldn't exist, but the fragment carried coordinates that led here. And so the expedition began. By the second day, the desert started testing them. Heat warped the horizon into liquid iron. The trucks crawled forward like beetles, leaving brief trails before the wind erased their existence. The sky was wide enough to unsettle even seasoned explorers. It felt less like emptiness and more like an eye. This place was a seabed once, Sienna said during their midday break. She was kneeling beside a cluster of ancient sediment, layered limestone, traces of microfossils, millions of years before humanity. The desert carries old memories. Karim smirked. Everything carries old memories, even my coffee mug. A graduate student handed him a bottle of warm water. With all due respect, sir, your coffee mug doesn't glow under sunlight. The linguist tapped the fragment, safely encased in a shock-proof box. Not yet. Eileen felt the familiar thrill of scientific uncertainty, the kind that stretched the mind and invited the impossible. She studied the fragment's glyphs again. Spirals blooming from a central dot. Lines arranged like rays of a mechanical sun. A symbol resembling an open hand with 7 fingers. Each morning when the sun touched it, those glyphs pulsed with soft radiance. Pure photoreactivity. According to Sienna. Pure nonsense. According to the laws of physics, On the evening of the third day, they found the first marker. Half buried under a dune lay a smooth stone slab polished unnaturally flat, untouched by erosion. It bore the same seven-fingered symbol, spanning nearly a meter. Someone carved this, Karim whispered. But with what? Quartz, diamond tools, or something else entirely? Ailina knelt beside the slab, brushing sand off its edges. This design predates human chisel technology by at least 7,000 years. A silence settled over the group. The desert wind whistled through it. Whatever left this, Sienna murmured, didn't walk here as we do. Each discovery made the air heavier. Drones mapped faint lines beneath the sand, massive geometric patterns measured in kilometers. They resembled star charts, or landing coordinates, or something more elaborate, something mathematical in ways human cultures didn't attempt until the Bronze Age. On the seventh day, they located the canyon dot. It didn't appear on satellite maps. It shouldn't exist. The earth simply opened, not with the jagged violence of tectonics, but with the precision of an engineered seam. Pale stone walls dropped more than 100 meters into shadow. A narrow path wound downward, carved with such exquisite symmetry that even Sienna stopped insisting it was natural. Karim touched the wall. These glyphs, they match the fragment, but they're complete. It's a whole language. Alina's heart hammered. This was history folding back on itself. They camped at the canyon's entrance. Lantern light flickered against their tents, casting elongated silhouettes across the rock like memories of ancient figures watching from the darkness. At dawn they descended. The air grew cooler. The glyphs grew more complex. Spirals became equations. Rays became directional markers. The seven-fingered symbol repeated at exact intervals, almost rhythmic. You feel it. One technician whispered, like the walls. They did. A faint vibration, subtle as breath. At the canyon floor, they found the arch. It stood tall, a two-story building, made of the same black glass as the fragment, but completely intact. The sunlight hit it and the arch lit up from within, its surface blooming with constellations that shifted like slow lightning. Sienna stepped back. This isn't architecture. It's technology. Karim corrected her softly. It might be both. Ailina felt the desert tilt around her. For her entire life, she had sought evidence that ancient myths encoded real encounters, moments when human civilizations brushed against something older and stranger. The arch waited, humming. At its center was a seam, thin as a hair, a door. Before anyone could speak, the fragment in Alina's hand glowed brilliantly brighter than it ever had. The arch responded with a pulse of light. The seam widened. The door opened. Beyond it lay a cavern carved with perfect spheres of floating luminescence, suspended like bottled starlight. A floor of smooth metallic stone stretched inward. The air felt strangely fresh, like spring water. No one moved. History had been rewritten in a single breath. Karim whispered, "We are not the first to walk here." Ailina stepped inside. The cavern expanded into a series of passageways lined with walls of shifting symbols. When Ailina brushed her gloved hand against them, the symbols rearranged, responding like living script. "This place is reading us," Karim muttered. "It's interactive." They reached a chamber shaped like a perfect dome. At its center stood a pedestal bearing an orb of translucent metal. It turned slowly on its axis, emitting faint harmonics. The moment Ailina approached, the orb blossomed with images. Figures of light descending from the sky. Ancient humans gathering around them. Structures rising where none should be. Knowledge transferred not through language, but through brilliantly woven patterns of sound and geometry. These were teachers, Ailina whispered, not gods. Travelers. The orb shifted again, a desert, younger and lush. A message encoded in symbols. Preserve the seed of knowledge. Return when the sun marks its second cycle. What sun cycle? A technician asked. Kareem swallowed. The text implies a celestial event. A long cycle, maybe thousands of years. Sienna looked at Ailina. They planned too. Return. The humming deepened. The orb projected. An image of the sky, our sky marked by an alignment of 3 stars and a distant object approaching. From the dark, a countdown in ancient glyphs. A countdown that ended. Soon, Alina's voice wavered. They didn't just leave something behind. They left instructions. Kareem interpreted the final line. Await the awakening. The chamber lights pulsed. Synchronized with their heartbeats, the ground trembled. The orb shifted to a new image, a part of the desert about 3 kilometers north of their position. Beneath it glowed a heartbeat of light. Steady, patient. Something is underground, Sienna said. Something big. The passage dimmed. The archway behind them hummed. The fragment in Alina's pocket vibrated, like a compass suddenly waking up. The expedition wasn't over. It had barely begun. And somewhere beneath the ancient desert, something waited to be found, something that might change everything humanity understood about itself. The desert held its breath, as if the gods or whatever came before them were ready to speak again. Chapter 2. The heartbeat in the sanded desert seemed to have changed once they came out from the subterranean chamber. The sky remained the same, but it felt thinner, as if even the atmosphere knew what they had found. Ailina stood at the edge of the canyon, blinking against the light, trying to steady the mixture of awe and dread coiling in her chest. The remainder of the team clambered out behind her, some shaking sand out of their boots, others staring wide-eyed out into the open expanse before them. Kareem, still clutching his notebook, muttered, "We just saw records of beings teaching early humans mathematics by singing fractals. My brain is leaking." Sienna replied to him, devoid of humor, and whatever they left behind is still active. Behind them, the arch in the canyon hummed softly, its light now dimming like an exhausted star. The doorway closed with a soft resonance, not a slam, but a sigh. "We triggered something," Ailina said. "The orb gave us coordinates. We go there next." One of the graduate students, Marisol, raised her shaking hand, as if she still sat in a classroom. "And what if the thing underground isn't friendly?" Ailina didn't say anything right away. The wind whipped a layer of sand across the scrubby path. The desert was silent, strangely. Listening, it seemed. "Knowledge isn't friendly or unfriendly," she said finally. "It simply is. And we're here to understand it." Kareem exhaled. That's the kind of answer that gets whole teams killed in horror movies. Sienna shot him a glare. "We're scientists. We don't run from the unknown." Kareem lifted a brow. "Speak for yourself." Yet he still got in the truck. They drove north, following the coordinates displayed by the fragment. The artifact glowed intermittently now, like a living compass waking from hibernation. With each pulse, its glyph shimmered, projecting faint lines that hovered in the air for seconds before fading. Paths, vectors, directions. Sienna watched the phenomenon with a scientist's suspicion. If this thing is guiding us, it has a power source we've never seen. One that responds to astronomical events, Kareem added. The countdown suggests a celestial alignment. Ailina nodded slowly. Whatever is underground. Maybe it's been dormant for millennia, waiting for the right moment, or the right people, said Kareem. It was a desert that stretched out to infinity, a mosaic of dunes curled like ancient waves. Heat shimmered above them, turning the horizon liquid. They traveled till the last marker blinked on the fragment, then stopped. Here, said Eileen. She stepped out. The sand beneath her boots was firmer than usual, almost compacted. The surface temperature was lower, too strange, considering the sun was merciless today. Sienna knelt to test it. This isn't natural. The sand here is fused, like glass. Kareem pointed. Look. The drones picked up something. A screen showed the underlayer. A huge dome-shaped structure buried under 40 meters of sand. Perfectly spherical, perfectly symmetrical. It looks like a heart, Marisol whispered. Sienna's eyes darkened. It pulsed in the projection. It's not a metaphor. Something's running inside. The word alive hung in the air uncomfortably. The team established perimeter scanners and a ground-penetrating radar. Each reading was stranger than the previous one. No heat signatures, yet activity consistent with a slow, rhythmic vibration. No identifiable material. Just some unknown alloy denser than titanium. No visible entrances until the sand moved. It wasn't dramatic. No explosion. No quake. The surface only shook, lightly, like something was breathing beneath them. Kareem stepped instinctively backward, clutching at his satchel. Sienna steadied her voice. We're standing above a mechanism, a large one. Then the shard in Alina's pocket ignited. She gasped and pulled it out. The glyphs on it moved rapidly, almost frantically. What is it doing? Marisol asked. Answering. The sand started sliding away in a circular motion. Perfect. Slow, deliberate. An opening was taking shape as if an unseen force carefully brushed aside centuries of burial. A shaft of cold air surged upward. Alina's heart pounded. It's opening. Karim's voice cracked. We didn't trigger it. It sensed us. Sienna pulled on her headlamp. We go down. Kareem threw his hands up. Of course we do. The descent path wasn't a natural tunnel. A slick metallic ramp spiraled into the earth, wide enough to accommodate two people side by side. Its walls smooth and carved with faint glowing veins like capillaries made of light. The heartbeat grew louder. Distant, slow, ancient. The deeper they went, the cooler it got. Not cold, but temperate like a controlled climate. After 10 minutes, they reached a chamber large, enough to swallow a cathedral, and at its center stood the sphere. Titanic, silent, enigmatic. Its surface fluctuated between metallic silver and shadowed black, as if it reflected both light and absence. Lines of light crawled across its skin like migrating stars. It's a vessel, Kareem whispered. Sienna whispered back, or a generator. Marisol said, not meaning to, or a womb. Alina stepped forward. This was the impossible destination, the one that no historian, linguist, or scientist should ever have reached. The heartbeat emanated from inside the sphere, deep and steady and impossibly organic. Kareem inhaled suddenly. I am reading. Pressure variations. Low frequency waves. Sienna put a palm near the surface. The light reacted, blooming beneath her touch. She stumbled back. It read my biometrics. The fragment flew out of Alina's hand before anyone could do anything. Not dropped, not pulled. Launched. It struck the sphere's surface gently, sinking halfway in like warm clay. Light erupted along the paths of the veins, racing outward in a spiral. The heartbeat quickened. Kareem panicked. We should leave. Now. Immediately? Look at it. This thing is waking. Ailina didn't budge. Her voice was trembling, yet firm. This is what the glyphs said. Await the awakening. It's this moment that those ancient teachers prepared for. Something in there is supposed to come back. Lights flickered around them. The walls vibrated. The spheres seems previously invisible began to glow. Sienna caught Ailina by the arm. We don't know what's inside. This might be a containment unit. Karim's voice rose. Or a species we aren't equipped to meet. The sphere cracked open. It opened, not with a violent tear, but with the slow elegance of a blooming flower. Petals of metal shifted outward, each etched with spirals of ancient script. Cold mist spilled out, curling across the floor. A tall figure stood. Inside, humanoid, luminous, its body had been woven of light and structure together. As the star learned to walk, its eyes opened. Twin suns. Ailina felt her breath evaporate. The being stepped out onto the chamber floor. The metal petals sealed behind it. The heartbeat ceased. There was a silence deeper than the desert in the chamber. It regarded the team, one by one, its voice not spoken but resonating in their minds, a soft vibration threading its way through their bones. You have returned. Kareem blinked. Returned us. The being's stare softened. Melancholy. We left you a seed, and now you stand at the cycle's end. Ailina felt tears gather at the edges of her vision. Who are you? A light swirled through the being's chest. We are the ones you called the sun messengers. A pause. And your world is not ready for what comes next. The chamber shook. Overhead, the desert boomed like a giant turning in his sleep. The creature stepped closer, extending its luminous hand, and the world went white. Chapter 3. The messenger awakes. Light swallowed everything. It wasn't the harshness of an explosion or the sting of a flare. It felt soft, weightless, like stepping through the surface of a dream. Ailina tried to breathe but couldn't feel her lungs. Time dissolved. Seconds felt like hours, or hours shrank into seconds. When the whiteness finally receded, she found herself standing in a memory not her own. A rainforest stretched around her, lush, vibrant, alive. Vines glistened with morning dew. Giant fronds unfurled like emerald wings. Strange constellations burned in the twilight sky, as though the heavens themselves were different. Figures of light, beings such as the one in the chamber, walked among early humans. Some taught agriculture by shaping soil with luminous hands. Others traced glowing patterns in the air, teaching humans about geometry without saying a single word. Then the vision changed. The sky darkened. A star flared violently. The luminous beings looked up. Their faces reflected fear. The earth shook. A huge shadow engulfed the entire world. Luminescent outlines of beings congregated humanity, ushering them toward havens hewn out of mountainsides. And then darkness. Everything disappeared. Ailina gasped, returning to the present. Her knees buckled and she clutched the ground, breathing hard. Kareem lay nearby, staring at the ceiling of the chamber as if trying to recall what he had seen. Sienna steadied herself against the sphere. We were shown something. Did you see it? The forest, the sky. Kareem nodded weakly. They taught our ancestors. And then something came. Light shimmered near them. The messenger stood forward, shining, tall, and ancient. Its presence filled the room like a warm tide. You have seen our last cycle with your kind, it said. A memory preserved for this moment. Ailina stood on trembling legs. What was that shadow? What were they running from? The messenger looked upon her, his eyes sad beyond emotion, a devourer of worlds, a silence in the cosmos, a wanderer we could not destroy. Kareem took a sharp breath. A species, a creature, asterisk not a creature, an event, a sentience, born inside the void between stars. It consumes knowledge and energy and life, and it travels on gravitational tides. Sienna pressed a hand to her forehead, disbelieving. And you think, it's coming back. The messenger lifted its head. Chapter 4. Into the heart of the network within the sphere. Darkness enveloped Eileen like velvet, not empty darkness alive, vast, humming with unseen threads. For a moment she felt weightless, suspended in a place without walls or gravity. Her breath fogged the air, yet not because it was cold. The sphere seemed to taste it, analyze it, and record it. A pulse of warm light flickered beneath her feet. The floor took form smooth metal, seamless, shifting. It shaped itself as she touched it, as if sensing her biology and adjusting. Eilina whispered to herself, I'm inside a living machine. A voice responded not in words, but in resonance. We have waited for your pattern. The tone wasn't like the messenger's. It was deeper, older, almost mechanical, yet eerily gentle. Lights bloomed in the dark, spirals, arrays, star maps uncurling like luminous constellations. Each symbol hovered around her, spinning, combining, dissolving, reforming. She reached towards one. The symbol reacted, unfurling into a wave of light that washed through her body. Instantaneously, her senses sharpened, her hearing stretched farther than the walls allowed. Her vision layered into colors she didn't have names for, and her thoughts became painfully clear. Then the machine showed her the world, not a vision, not memory, a living map. The Sahara, a globe beneath the sand with geometric lines like dormant pathways waiting to activate. Europe flickered with faint nodes, ancient outposts burned by time. The oceans that hide submerged vaults, humming softly like sleeping giants. Asia, alive with soft lights, a place where the messengers did once walk and insert quiet tools into mountainsides. Earth was a lattice of invisible architecture, all interconnected, all waiting. Eilina whispered, This is the network, and I'm supposed to activate it. Again, the voice resonated. You carry the harmonic key. Your neural pattern can wake up the grid, but you must endure the calibration. The word felt too clinical for something so colossal. What happens if I fail? She asked. The sphere replied without hesitation. Your mind will break. Your body will follow. Calibration is irreversible. She swallowed, throat tight. Still, she stepped forward. She had come too far to let Earth burn. Chaos unfolded outside the sphere. He paced the chamber floor, mumbling equations under his breath. Panic mixed with frantic reasoning. 31 days. 1 month. That's nothing. That's a cosmic blink. How do we prepare an entire species for extinction-level contact? Sienna didn't respond. She stood staring upward, the metal ceiling quivering with each distant echo from the surface. ISOL was trying the radio again. Base camp. Do you copy? What's happening up there? Static. The messenger remained motionless, a figure of tranquility amongst their growing terror. The harbinger tests the boundary of your atmosphere. It seeks vulnerabilities. Kareem shot him a glare. We have plenty of those. Sienna folded her arms. What does it want? The messenger's luminous eyes dimmed perceptibly. It's not a creature of desire. The silence reaps entropy. It feeds on cosmic order. Your world is rich in complexity, thought, creation, a pause. It finds you delicious. Kareem shuddered. Fantastic. Galactic brain eater. Perfect. The sphere pulsed suddenly, drawing their attention. A shockwave of light rippled across its surface. Sienna stepped toward it. What's happening inside? The messenger's face changed. A flash of hope. She has entered the calibration phase. Marisol's voice was shaking. If she dies in there, what happens to us? To Earth. The messenger turned to her. Then your world falls silent. In the core, Alina felt the calibration begin. It didn't hurt, not at first. Patterns of light intertwined with her thoughts like roots threading into soil. Her memories flashed. Her grandmother's stories by starlight. The first artifact she discovered as a student. Her failures. Her hopes. Her reasons for chasing myths that nobody else believed. The network tasted them all. Her vision fractured into layers, one showing the inside of the sphere, metal shifting, adjusting to her heartbeat. Another layer displayed streams of data, ancient algorithms folding through her mind. A third showed the messenger standing outside, watching. The machine whispered, "Accept the resonance. Do not resist it." The symbols spun faster. Calibration strengthened. Her nerves hummed. Her bones vibrated. Her thoughts were stretched thin, like threads pulled across galaxies. Alina gasped, clutching her skull. Stop, stop. I can't. The voice grew firmer. You should harmonize. If you resist, you will break. When one surrenders, one reshapes. Her knees hit the floor. Tears streamed down her face. She felt herself slipping, her identity dissolving, her consciousness scattering across the lattice of the machine. She was Alina, and also not Alina. She was falling. Then she felt a hand. Soft, familiar, human. Her grandmother's voice whispered in her memory. Truth is heavy, child, but you were born with strong shoulders. Her breathing steadied. She let go. The network surged into her mind, light exploding, stars collapsing, time stretching, earth singing, and then she stood in a white, infinite expanse. She looked down at her hands. They glowed. Calibration complete. A voice said behind her. She turned. It was herself, another Alina, woven of light and memory and harmonic resonance. You are the conductor now, the double said. The network is awake. The chamber dissolved around her. The sphere opened. Blinding light erupted, and the team shielded their eyes. The sphere's petals unfolded. Alina stepped out, but she wasn't the same. Her eyes shone like starlight. Patterns crawled faintly beneath her skin. Kareem stumbled backward. Alina. Her voice echoed with layered harmonics. Human and something more. The network is live, she whispered. I can see every node, every line, every weakness, every strength. Sienna swallowed hard, and the silence. Alina lifted her head. A distant streak moving across the heavens was reflected in her eyes. It's closer, she whispered. It's testing the magnetosphere. Karim's breath caught. Can you stop it? At first, Alina did not respond. The network buzzed behind her eyes, warnings and solutions and possibilities colliding. Finally, she said, I can try. The chamber shook. The desert roared. The countdown continued. As both the hunter and defender made their next move. Earth held its breath. Chapter 5. When the sky cracks, ground shook hard enough to rattle dust from the chamber ceiling. Sienna braced herself against the wall. That wasn't just thunder. Thunder doesn't roll upward. Kareem hit the radio again, his voice sharp with panic. Base camp. Anyone? Do you copy? Crackle. Static. A faint voice. Then the line went completely dead. The messenger glowed brighter as it took a step closer to Ailina. The silence begins its first breach. Ailina felt the alarm before the being spoke. It pulsed in her bones, her blood, the lattice of light now woven into her mind. A high-frequency tremor rippled across her vision. An alert from the network. It's not attacking directly, she murmured. It's testing the planet's electromagnetic field, looking for weak points. Kareem swallowed nervously. Testing, like poking Earth with a cosmic stick. The messenger didn't turn its head. In its voice, gravitas lay heavy on them all. Silence never strikes blindly. It studies its meal before consuming it. Marisol shivered. Were the meal? Outside. Another boom echoed from afar, this time sharp and metallic. Sienna picked up her pack. We need to get back to the surface. Now, Ailina nodded. She could feel the network tugging at her attention. Dozens of nodes pinging for activation. Ancient machines buried beneath continents, waking for the first time in millennia. But first they had to see what the silence had done. The instant they were out of the canyon, the desert wind struck them with an explosion of heat, violent, swirling, chaotic. The sky above was wrong. Wounded. Along. Burning fissure glowed across the upper atmosphere, like someone had taken a cosmic blade and scraped it along the surface of the sky. Isol gasped. Is that real? Sienna whispered. The magnetosphere. It's been torn. Ailina stared upward, her network sight overlaying the real sky. The fissure wasn't a tear, it was a breach point, vibrating with alien frequency. A calling card. Kareem shielded his eyes. People will see this. The whole world. And they were seeing it. All around Ailina. Her supercharged senses picked up fragments. News cameras. Satellites. Civilians recording the phenomenon from rooftops. The world was in a panic. Phones buzzed with warning alerts. Social media just exploded into chaos. Governments scrambled to issue statements about rare atmospheric anomalies, but the silence didn't care. The fissure pulsed once more, sending a wave of static through the desert. Their trucks crackled with electricity. The Earth humed. The messenger floated beside them, its light flickering. This is only the beginning. The first test. Ailina turned to it. How do we close it? The messenger's eyes landed on her, filled with something like hope. The network can heal the breach, but the nodes must be activated? All of them. Kareem's jaw dropped. All? How many is that? Ailina blinked and the answer materialized in her brain. A map of glowing points scattered across Earth's crust. 64 major nodes, she said softly, and thousands of minor harmonics. Sienna gave a hollow laugh. So basically, we need to reboot an entire ancient planetary defense grid in 30 days. Less. Ailina corrected. Her inner sight watched the fissure spread another fraction of a kilometer. Much less. They raced back to camp. The base, once busy and orderly, now stood in shambles. Tents flapped violently. Equipment scattered everywhere. Two of the scientists stumbled toward them in terror. Dr. Ray's. Something hit the sky. Our drones fell out of the air. One shouted. Chapter 6. The first shadow. False desert blurred past them in waves of gold and burning heat. Sienna pushed the truck harder than it was ever designed to be pushed, suspension screaming. Tires chewing sand, engine roaring with the desperation of a cornered animal. Behind them, the sky cracked again, another fissure blooming like a wound in the heavens. Kareem clutched the passenger seat with both hands. I'm just saying my contract definitely did not include cosmic apocalypse, the working condition. Sienna kept her gaze ahead. File a complaint when we survive. Alina sat in the back, eyes half closed, the network humming through her nerves like electricity. Each new fissure struck her mind like a pressure wave. Warnings, frequencies, patterns. She felt Earth itself calling out to her, like a living organism crying in pain. Besides her, Marisol stared anxiously. What do you see? Alina's voice shook. The silence is scanning, searching for the core. It knows I activated it. And what happens if it finds us? Marisol whispered. Alina didn't answer. She didn't need to. Everybody knew. The truck hit a dip hard. Equipment rattled. A storage crate burst open, spilling radios, scanners, and half-packed supplies across the floor. Kareem groaned. Great. Even the cargo is panicking. Sienna yelled over the engine. How far to a Hagar now? Alina's neural map flickered. Dunes, rock formations, magnetic lines beneath the earth. She pointed toward a distant formation jutting like broken teeth from the desert. Another 90 kilometers. But something's coming. Sienna turned to the mirror. What do you mean? Coming. Alina's pupils dilated. The first manifestation. The silence is. Testing a ground form. Kareem stiffened. Testing what, precisely? Alina's voice thinned to a whisper. Us. 20 minutes later, they saw the storm. Not a sandstorm, something worse. A swirling column of black dust and electric arcs rose like a tornado made out of shadows. It spun silently at first, then let out a low, resonant hum, the same frequency that had vibrated through the chamber beneath the desert. Alina slammed her hand against the truck wall. Sienna, stop. Stop now. Sienna braked. The truck skidded, sand spraying. Kareem nervously pushed his glasses up. That isn't a storm. That isn't meteorological. That is a harbinger, Alina said. The messenger materialized beside the truck as if woven out of thin air. Its glow was dimmer now, dulled by the presence of the shadow. The silence has built a scout. A fragment of itself given form. The column shifted out of the darkness. A figure took shape. For limbs. Elongated. Geometric, almost insect-like, but too smooth, too precise. Its body shimmered like liquid obsidian, reflecting nothing. Karim's voice cracked. It built a creature. It is not alive, said the messenger. It is a question. Marisol blinked. A question. The silence asks, what defenses do you have? The creature's head snapped toward them, quick, unnatural, like mechanics searching for a target. Alina felt its gaze. It was cold. Analytical. Starving. Her breath caught. It senses the network signature on me. Sienna cursed. So, what do we do? Run a fight. The messenger replied. You cannot fight it. Run. The creature lunged. The truck roared as Sienna slammed the accelerator. Sand exploded behind them as they tore across the desert. The beast followed, effortlessly leaping, skittering, gliding across dunes with terrifying precision. Kareem screamed, Why is it so fast? Why is it faster than us? Marisol clung to the door with white knuckles. It's gaining. Alina pressed her palm against the window. The network flared. The magnetic lines beneath the sand were a web of dormant energy veins. Humming faintly, turn left. She shouted. Sienna didn't hesitate. She turned the wheel sharply, and the truck careened off course. The creature pounced, missed by centimeters, slamming into the sand with a shock wave that rattled their bones. Kareem wheezed. What did that accomplish besides shaving 10 years off my life? Ailina focused, the sweat trickling down her temple. There's an old harmonic conduit beneath the sand. If I can activate it, she closed her eyes, reached into the network dot and pushed. A tremor rippled across the ground. The sand beneath the creature flared to life in glowing lines, ancient patterns bursting alive for the first time in millennia. The creature paused, cocking its obsidian head in confusion. Then the ancient lines exploded upward in a pulse of blinding light. The creature shrieked, its shadow form destabilizing, dissolving into a cloud of crackling dust. Kareem threw his hands up. Yes, you vaporized it. Ailina slumped back, her breaths labored. I disrupted its resonance temporarily. It'll reform. We need to move. The messenger nodded grimly. You bought seconds, maybe minutes, not more. Sienna gunned the engine again. Then let's make those minutes count. The truck surged forward, leaving behind it a diminishing glow of light in the sand. The storm of shadows dissipated, but the fissure in the sky widened. We're running out of time. Ailina whispered. Kareem swallowed. Then get us to the node. Whatever happens next. I have a feeling it's going to get worse. The truck barreled toward the mountains. Behind them, far away, the shadow started reforming. The silence was learning. It would not underestimate them again. Chapter 7. The Watchers of Ahagar. The Hagar Mountains rose from the desert like the vertebrae of some sleeping titan. Jagged, ancient, scarred by millennia of sandstorms. As the truck approached the first foothills, the dunes thinned out and were replaced with fields of black volcanic rock that shimmered with trapped heat. Sharp basalt pillars jutted skyward, like frozen lightning strikes, creating natural corridors of stone that funneled wind into low, haunting whistles. The noise was unsettling enough, but it wasn't the wind that unnerved Ailina. It was the heartbeat. Not hers, not the network's. Something older, something waiting. It pulsed. Beneath the ground, a buried drum. It whispered in frequencies only her newly tuned senses could pick up through her bones. This was the first major node, the Ahagar Resonance Gate, a focus of ancient power buried beneath mountains that had once spewed fire into the sky. Kareem leaned forward, squinting through the windscreen. Are we sure there's a node here? Because all I see is a lot of rocks that would love to flatten us. Ailina kept her eyes fixed on the mountains. The node is inside the range. Deep inside. The entrance won't look natural. Sienna's hands tightened on the wheel. Define not natural. Giant glowing door. Alien elevator shaft. A sign saying ancient defense grid this way. Ailina didn't answer. The mountain spoke on her behalf. The first tremor rose through the ground as though it were a groan. Pebbles bounced across the hood of the truck. Larger rocks slid down the nearby slopes. Something deep within the earth cracked with a sound like thunder locked in stone. Mayor ISOL gasped. Is that the silence again? No, Ailina whispered. This is the node waking up. A fissure tore open ahead of them slowly, deliberately splitting the basalt like warm clay. Dust plumed upward. Heat surged out of the crack, a furnace blast of air that shimmered with faint geometric patterns. Sienna slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded to a stop just inches away from the yawning chasm. Kareem peered over the dashboard. That is a hole, a very big hole, and we're supposed to climb into the apocalypse hole. Why, exactly? The messenger materialized behind them, its glowing form humbling against the dark stone. The entrance has revealed itself. Follow the path. The gate awaits. Kareem slowly opened his door. Right, into the hole. because my day wasn't terrifying enough. The team gathered at the edge. Below them, the fissure dropped down into a cavern bathed in soft blue light. Its walls were carved smooth to smooth as if shaped by hands far more precise than any human tool could ever manage. Symbols glowed faintly, arranged in circular patterns like constellations drawn by a mathematician. Sienna drew a rope and wrapped it around the base of a spike of basalt. We rappelled down. Stay together. Kareem stepped back. I am not Sienna, I swear if you. Sienna shoved a harness at him. Put it on unless you want to meet gravity personally. Kareem muttered various prayers from 3 different religions as he strapped himself in. Marisol followed, her face pale but determined. Ailina kept one hand against the rock, feeling the pulse growing stronger, more insistent. The mountain was alive, calling. Out to her dot, it was thrumming like a giant's. Heart beat when she descended into the chasm. The cavern widened into a chamber so large there had lamps couldn't reach the ceiling. The walls shimmered with veins of crystal and metal that pulsed with faint inner light. In the center lay a circular stone platform perfectly smooth, perfectly centered, and carved with the same spiraling glyphs that adorned the fragment. Kareem landed beside her, his eyes wide with wonder. This is impossible. This chamber must be tens of thousands of years old. No erosion, no decay. It's like it was built yesterday. Marisol knelt beside the platform. What do these symbols mean? Ailina didn't need to interpret. The network whispered in her mind. It's a harmonic cradle, she murmured. A place where the conductor interfaces with the node. Kareem groaned. Let me guess. Conductor is you. Interface means danger. And this whole thing probably turns you into a toaster if you get the wrong frequency. Sienna walked across the platform, scanning the walls. The question isn't what it does to Ailina. The question is what happens to Earth if she doesn't activate it. The messenger floated to the edge of the platform. This node controls the high atmosphere stabilization field. If it remains dormant, the silence will widen the breach and begin siphoning energy from your world's magnetosphere. Asterisk. Karim's eyes widened. Siphon, as in, eat the planet's magnetic field, and everything protected by it. Silence fell over the team. Ailina stepped onto the platform. The instant her foot touched the stone, the glyphs lit up in spirals of radiant blue. The chamber hummed. Crystal veins in the walls flickered awake. A deep vibration rolled through the mountain like the growl of something ancient unlocking itself. Sienna whispered, Ailina, are you sure? No, Ailina said. Then she knelt. The glyphs swirled around her in arcs of light, spinning faster and forming a halo of symbols that wrapped her body. Her heartbeat synchronized to the pulse of the platform. The mountain responded. The walls shifted. A second heartbeat joined the first, slower, deeper, resonating with ancient authority. The node was waking. A frigid blast of air suddenly swept through the chamber. Kareem shivered. Why is it cold? We're inside a volcano range. This should be the movement was in the shadows. Marisol drew back. Sienna, there's something in here with us. Two glowing eyes opened in the darkness above. A figure stepped into the light, tall and silent, its body lined with faint, shimmering geometric patterns in black that pulsed in counter-rhythm to the node. The coldness was so deep that it seemed to seep into their bones. The messenger stepped between the team and the shadow. Watcher. Sienna instinctively raised her weapon. Watcher. Friend or enemy? Neither, said the messenger. They guard the nodes. They answer only to the network. The watcher moved with slow, graceful steps, its limbs fluid yet oddly mechanical. Its face was expressionless, a mask of smooth obsidian. Its voice, when it finally spoke, was like grinding stone. Conductor detected. Calibration confirmed. Node must wake up. Okay. So, it's a guard robot. That's fine. Maybe whispered Kareem. The watcher tilted its head unnervingly organic in gesture. Threat approaching. The messenger stiffened. The silence has found the mountain. The ground shook with a tremor. Dust came cascading from the ceiling. Sienna's eyes widened. It's here. Ailina stayed still, within the halo of light, the harbinger. It followed us. The watcher raised an arm, and geometric shields rippled outward from its palm. Conductor must continue. Defenders will engage. Kareem blinked. Defenders plural. Who else? The walls split open. Figures emerged. Tall. Silent, cloaked like the watcher. Dozens of them. They lined the chamber like soldiers risen from stone. Ancient guardians. Whispered Marisol. The messenger nodded. For millennia, the watchers remain dormant. They only stir as extinction is at hand. Another, more violent, tremor shook the mountain, now sufficient to crack stone. A low howl echoed through the cavern. Not wind. Not rock. Something alive. Something wrong. Sienna readied her weapon. Here it comes. The ceiling burst open. The silence's harbinger dropped into the chamber, reborn from shadow. Now larger, now more defined. Its obsidian limbs unfolded like blades. Its head snapped toward Ailina instantly, drawn by the lightning-bright network signature inside her. Kareem screamed, Ailina, whatever it is, don't stop. Ailina didn't hear him. She was gone, already part of the network, part of the node, drowning in spirals of ancient equations and alien geometry. The heartbeat of the mountain joined with hers. As if she were the pulse of Earth itself, the watchers surged forward. The harbinger leapt. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Light struggled against darkness. Stone split. Energy crackled. Ancient technology screamed. Awake. Ailina felt the node rise like a tidal wave beneath her mind. The first global line activated. A beam of blue light shot upwards through the mountain, punching through the sky like a lighthouse built for the gods. The fissure in the atmosphere. Convulsed. Fixed. For now. But the harbinger twisted around the watchers, sliding like living smoke, headed straight for the platform. Sienna fired. Marisol screamed. Kareem threw a rock. The messenger threw itself in the way, but the harbinger kept coming. Ailina opened her eyes, shining with star-white fire. Enough. She raised her hand. The note obeyed. A shockwave of pure harmonic force exploded outward, dripping through the chamber, blasting dust and stone and shadow aside. The harbinger shrieked as its form destabilized, shattering into a storm of black shards that dissolved into the air. Silence fell. The watchers lowered their arms. The messenger bowed his head. Kareem slumped down to the floor. I think I'm going to vomit. Sienna slumped against a wall, panting. Ailina, what did you do? Ailina stood slowly, the glyphs dimming around her. Her voice echoed with layered harmonics. I awakened the first node. The mountain pulsed with new life. Marisol wiped her eyes. Does that mean Earth is safe? Ailina turned toward the entrance. The sky outside flashed red. Again, the fissure widened. No, she whispered. We only slowed it down. She looked northward toward distant lands where dozens of other nodes still slept beneath deserts, jungles, oceans, ice caps. This was one step. Sienna pushed herself upright. Then what's next? Elena stepped off the platform, her eyes reflecting the storm-scarred sky. We activate the others, and far above, in the upper atmosphere, the silence watched, learning, adapting, and preparing its next move. Chapter 8 The world stirs. Beam from the Hagar node shot into the upper atmosphere like a celestial pillar. Satellites caught the flare instantly. NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, JAXA, ISRO. Every major observatory blinked awake like startled eyes. Within minutes, global communication channels boiled. Every military radar in the hemisphere saw it. Every intelligence agency panicked. Every government denied knowing anything. And above all that noise, the silence listened. The team stood outside the cracked mountain chamber, staring at the sky. The fissures pulsed like lightning trapped beneath a sheet of ice. But for the first time, the edges stopped widening. The beam stabilized the distortion temporarily. Sienna shaded her eyes. If anyone wasn't watching us before, they are now. Kareem had his tablet out, hacking into civilian feeds. 5 countries think it's a missile test. 3 think it's a meteor. And at least 1 thinks aliens finally decided to stop lurking. Marisol shrugged. Technically, they aren't wrong. Elena wasn't looking at the sky. She was listening, not with her ears, with the network, a steady hum of data, a pulse of ancient geometry, a whisper of distant nodes waking. But beneath that, darker, heavier, a vibration deep in the Earth's mantle. The silence is probing again, she murmured. The messenger drifted beside her. It tests the integrity of your defense. It will escalate. Sienna checked their supplies. Then we need to reach the next node fast. Kareem swore under his breath. Where's the next one? Elena's vision flickered. Blue lines, maps, continents. The node glowed beneath the Mediterranean Sea. Underwater, she said. Inside a cavern system beneath the seabed. Marisol choked. We're going underwater now. Sienna sighed. We're activating an ancient planetary defense grid. The least it could do is give us an easy one. Kareem tapped his tablet. Okay, but... He turned the screen around. Breaking news: unidentified energy beam detected over Sahara. Border forces mobilizing. Airspace restricted. He swallowed. We have a bigger problem. 3 military helicopters were already approaching. No insignia, no lights, no transponders. Not here for rescue. Sienna muttered. This is trouble. The messenger's tone darkened. Humans fear what they do not understand. They may interfere. Marisol looked between the choppers and the team. What do we do? Elena inhaled deeply. We don't hide. We don't fight. We move. Kareem blinked. Move where? The answer arrived in a pulse of network light. A map. Coordinates. A location to the north. Elena pointed. We go to Jeanette. There's an old facility. We can get transport to the coast. Chapter 8 The world stirs. Beam from the Hagar node shot into the upper atmosphere like a celestial pillar. Satellites caught the flare instantly. NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, JAXA, ISRO. Every major observatory blinked awake like startled eyes. Within minutes, global communication channels boiled. Every military radar in the hemisphere saw it. Every intelligence agency panicked. Every government denied knowing anything. And above all that noise, the silence listened. The team stood outside the cracked mountain chamber, staring at the sky. The fissures pulsed like lightning trapped beneath a sheet of ice. But for the first time, The edges stopped widening. The beam stabilized the distortion. Temporarily. Sienna shaded her eyes. If anyone wasn't watching us before, they are now. Kareem had his tablet out, hacking into civilian feeds. 5 countries think it's a missile test. 3 think it's a meteor. And at least 1 thinks aliens finally decided to stop lurking. Marisol shrugged. Technically, they aren't wrong. Ailina wasn't looking at the sky. She was listening, not with her ears, with the network, a steady hum of data, a pulse of ancient geometry, a whisper of distant nodes waking. But beneath that, darker, heavier, a vibration deep in the earth's mantle. The silence is probing again, she murmured. The messenger drifted beside her. It tests the integrity of your defense. It will escalate. Sienna checked their supplies. Then we need to reach the next node fast. Kareem swore under his breath. Where's the next one? Alina's vision flickered. Blue lines, maps, continents. The node glowed beneath the Mediterranean Sea. Underwater, she said. Inside a cavern system beneath the seabed. Marisol choked. We're going underwater now. Sienna sighed. We're activating an ancient planetary defense grid. The least it could do is give us an easy one. Kareem tapped his tablet. Okay, but... He turned the screen around. Breaking news: unidentified energy beam detected over Sahara. Border forces mobilizing. Airspace restricted. He swallowed. We have a bigger problem. 3 military helicopters were already approaching. No insignia, no lights, no transponders. Not here for rescue. Sienna muttered. This is trouble. The messenger's tone darkened. Humans fear what they do not understand. They may interfere. Marisol looked between the choppers and the team. What do we do? Ailina inhaled deeply. We don't hide. We don't fight. We move. Kareem blinked. Move where? The answer arrived in a pulse of network light. A map. Coordinates. A location to the north. Ailina pointed. We go to Jeanette. There's an old facility. We can get transport to the coast. Sienna began gathering gear. Perfect. Let's leave before whoever's in those helicopters decides we look suspicious. Kareem raised an eyebrow. We are suspicious. Sienna smirked. Then let's be suspicious somewhere else. They sprinted toward the truck. Behind them, the watchers were seated into the mountain shadows, watching, waiting. Guardians of a war most of humanity didn't know they were already losing. The choppers descended. They tore across the rocky plain. The helicopters dropped lower searchlights, cutting across the ground like blades of white fire. Faster, Kareem yelled. Sienna didn't need the encouragement. The truck bounced violently over stone ridges, throwing them side to side. Dust clouds billowed behind them. The searchlights narrowed. MARISOL peeked out the back window. They're signaling us to stop. Kareem shouted back. And if we stop, they'll ask questions like, why did you turn on the Gent Sky laser? And please surrender your alien death god technology. Ailina felt pressure building behind her eyes, the silence pushing harder now. Irritated by the node's activation, she whispered, the fissure. It's widening again. Sienna cursed. Already. Ailina touched the window glass. Her vision layered over the desert. Dust trails, thermal signatures, magnetic fields approaching threat. She flinched. They're not alone, she said softly. Kareem sat up straight. Who else? Ailina looked at the sky. Far above the helicopters. A faint shape drifted in the fissure, black, angular, insect-like, a new harbinger. A scout sent by the silence. It moved like a spider climbing a web. Sienna saw it too? Tell me that's not what I think it is. Alina's voice dropped. It's watching. Learning. Kareem buried his face in his hands. Great. We have both governments and cosmic eaters of worlds chasing us. Marisol groaned. Worst road trip ever. The escape Heath Mountain ridge narrowed into a canyon. Sienna veered the truck into it, tires screeching on the salt. The walls rose so high the sunlight barely reached the floor. Helicopters can't follow us in here, Sienna said. Kareem exhaled. Great. Maybe we lose them. The messenger materialized in the truck bed, glowing faintly. Marisol nearly fell out the window. Warn us when you do that. But the messenger wasn't joking. They are deploying ground forces at the canyon entrance. What? Kareem shouted. Soldiers, armored vehicles, blocking the exit. Sienna hit the brakes so hard everyone lurched forward. Marisol gasped. They're sealing us in. Kareem groaned. This keeps getting better. The messenger placed a hand on the truck. Light pulsed through the metal. Follow me. It drifted forward into the canyon wall and disappeared. Sienna blinked. Is it telling us to? Drive into the rock. Alina moved her hand. The network sang. A pattern glowed faintly on the canyon wall, a door hidden beneath centuries of dust. A node carrier entrance. Drive. Alina whispered. Sienna swallowed. If this kills us, I'm haunting you. She hit the gas. The truck roared and passed straight through the stone. The illusion collapsed behind them. They plunged into darkness. The tunnel of the first builders. Canyon wall wasn't stone. It was a projection, an ancient camouflage veil maintained by dormant crystalline projectors. They emerged into a tunnel carved so perfectly it felt like they were driving through the inside of a giant's artery. Kareem stared around, mouth open. This isn't human architecture. The messenger floated beside them. The first builders made safe paths for the conductors. Only you may pass. Sienna whistled. Any chance these paths lead all the way to the Mediterranean? The messenger paused. Not fully, but they will take you far unseen. Far above, muffled by meters of rock. The helicopters thundered overhead. Soldiers shouted in confusion. And the silence's harbinger waited. The world reaxis. They drove deeper. Alina finally opened herself fully to the network. The world rushed into her like a river breaking through a dam. Satellite feeds, government broadcasts, emergency alerts, NASA detecting magnetic anomalies. China, scrambling fighter jets. European Union declaring restricted skies. News anchors talking about light pillars. Panic blooming in cities. People praying, people screaming, people watching the sky for answers. Sand above all that noise. A cold presence probing Earth's protective shell. The silence. Its voice reached her mind like a pressure wave, untranslated. Conductor. Found. Pattern. Consume. Alina jerked, clutching her head. Kareem spun around. Alina, are you okay? Her eyes glowed faintly. It's calling to me. Sienna looked horrified. Calling you what? Alina whispered. The next meal. The messenger turned toward her. Ignore its voice. It speaks only entropy. Alina gritted her teeth, forcing her breathing to steady. Marisol touched her shoulder gently. We're with you. Whatever this thing is, you're not facing it alone. The truck slowed as the tunnel opened into a vast subterranean chamber, an ancient transit hub, filled with dormant machines and a buried platform that looked like it belonged to a civilization older than myth. Sienna whispered, What is this place? The messenger spread its arms. A gate. The first builders traveled across continents through these paths. You will too. Karim's jaw dropped. Wait, you're telling me this is an ancient transport system? Yes. Eileen stepped out of the truck. The floor beneath her lit up. Lines of energy raced across the chamber, circling the platform, humming with power. This wasn't a ruin. This was a station waking for the first time in thousands of years. Sienna exhaled. So this gets us under the Mediterranean. Eileen nodded slowly. Yes, if I can activate it, Kareem muttered. And if you can't, the messenger answered quietly, then the silence will reach the next node. First, the chamber shuddered. Distant echoes of something massive shifting in the fissure. Something coming. Eileen placed her hand on the console. The ancient machine awakened. The platform glowed. The tunnel sealed behind them, and the journey to the next node, the node beneath the sea, began.